Hey, good morning. This is Rachael Kvapil, owner of Pagesculptor Studios, and I just wanted to do a video this time instead of a regular written blog post to kind of continue on our theme of discussing blog writing. Now, I'm not talking about microblogs like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Those are actually blogs in their own right, but they're called microblogs. I'm talking about website blogs, right? So this discussion came about because I had a couple people on Facebook now in the time of Black Lives Matter express how difficult it is to have a real discussion with people about events, about history, about things that they're concerned about with regards to equality for everyone. And so I right off the bat said, what you really need is a blog. Now, I understand that a lot of people thinking are blogs really still a thing. I mean, there's like 6 million of them or something. And so, yes, blogs are still website blogs. So website blogs are still a valid thing. Now, I advocate almost every business have a website blog. I understand that writing copy can take some time, but if you look at Seth Godin's website blog, his posts are actually very short. So you can still do kind of a medium content with a website blog. But the point of this post today is to talk about the three main things that you really need to consider when you are choosing a blog platform. Now, what do I mean by blog platform? I'm talking WordPress, I'm talking Blogger, Medium, Wix, in fact, is still considered one, and so is Squarespace. There are a ton of different website blog platforms, and many of the actual websites that you visit to purchase things are built on blog platforms. And so really, I've looked over, and you can Google a ton of different websites and articles that will tell you the pros and cons. But if you really don't consider your overall goal of what you're trying to achieve with your blog, and maybe even consider some options for growth, then you risk choosing kind of a platform early on that may not work for you, and then you have to switch platforms and material and data later on. So here's what I've boiled it down to. What can you customize, and how easy is it to customize and grow? What is the back-end interface, and what is the price? Let's start with customization, because this covers everything from themes to layout to how easy it is to import fonts or your choice of fonts. Can you connect to your social media? Because you're still going to be microblogging about issues. You're just going to save your longer material for your website blog. Can you connect to your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, all that? Does it have that option? Will you have the ability to upload larger media files? I can tell you this was a lesson recently learned, mostly because I was just exploring different types. And I keep an online journal that's very private, but it's also a blogging platform in which if you absolutely want, it's called the Journey Timeline Journey platform. So if you really wanted, you could have made that a legitimate blog. And from the phone, you can upload files like pre-recorded website files, but you can't embed them in the actual post. They're more like a header. And you can do media and things like that. So I went to the website option to see if you could embed them, and you really can't. In fact, it just will not even transfer larger files. I actually think, let me correct that, from that app, you can put them in the post, but they don't upload to the website version. And so that just kind of creates some craziness. So then I thought I'd check out the Blogger platform about video, because I had once used it for that, and turns out they have very big limitations on their video as well. What does is, WordPress is famous for allowing longer videos. And so in that instance, it'd be one of those considers. There are other ones too that allow longer videos and more media files. And so that's just one thing to consider. Also, does that platform allow e-commerce? Now, not everybody is going to be selling something, but say in the future that it comes to a point in which you do need to sell something, be it a shirt, a hat, if you're doing like social justice, if you end up forming a group such as Black Lives Matter did, they have a lot of support material, and a lot of that is possible through a back end such as e-commerce. Same thing with the bicycle organizations that I League for American Bicycles. They have a lot of back end as well. So that is one thing. How well can you customize that platform to meet the needs now and the needs in the future? And if you don't get it right, it's not really, I guess, that big of a deal, so long as you have a domain name that can transfer over to a new blogging platform. I started with Blogger. I'm now on WordPress, and I've kind of experimented with a few in between. So the next thing that we should look at is probably what the back end interface is, because they're not all very simple and easy to use. I would say, for instance, WordPress can get complicated, especially once you start adding widgets and plugins. And so that gets to be a little more complicated. Something like Blogger has a very simple interface, but like I said, it has its limitations as well. But if you're simply looking for a blog that you're going to be writing and putting some photos, and you're not going to be really producing videos such as this, then it's a very fine option. It's got a very easy interface, down to the fact of, or down to the point that even formatting your material is easier. And while that's getting easier in such platforms like WordPress, there is still a slight learning curve, especially since they've gone to blocks, and a lot of the material, like either uploading a video, which uploads different than if you've already uploaded it to the media library, or embedding something, or finding where you're going to put a lot of the formatting. Those are now all in different sections and been rearranged, and so there is still kind of a learning curve. So that's one thing to, if you have no patience with like super steep learning curves, then I would consider a simpler interface. But if you're one of those that is just kind of a thing and you're gonna learn it, or you may have some coding experience, then you and some experience configuring plugins and widgets, then you can be a little bit more flexible in what you choose. So the third thing really to consider then is the price, and money talks. And so most of the blogs have a free feature, right? You can upload a limited amount there's a limited amount of space, hosting space for images. Some even allow video. But and then you'll have like a few basic post features, page building features, and some SEO abilities. So for instance, like WordPress, if you use WordPress.com or WordPress.org, you may have a limitation on whether you can actually use plugins or a limited amount of layout features until you start going up and building into different plans, subscription plans like the business plan or a personal plan or something like that. I don't know exactly how many have different pricings. I know, for instance, Wix will have a pricing plan based on what you think you'll need of features, and I'm sure the same is for Squarespace. As you can tell, probably Wix and WordPress are the two biggest, though I'm very familiar with Blogger from having used it for quite some time. The other thing is then you have to look at, like, for instance, I looked at my backend and I just realized I've used like 62% of my hosting space. So I have mine hosted on a separate hosting company that isn't necessary for all web platforms, but I happen to be using the WordPress.org version. And so that does require hosting space. And so I actually have mine on a host. I just realized I've used 62% of my space. So at some point I will be looking to upgrade. Now that may come to a point on other blogging platforms in which you You are going to have to find a time in which you are uploading a lot of media, podcasts, a lot of video, and you may have to increase. So pricing now is a good way of finding out what you may have to face in the future. And then, as always, don't forget the price of your domain name. Yeah, you could buy it for like a year or 2 years or 3 years, but that's still an expense. It comes into play when you are doing your overall pricing strategy. So those are the 3 major things that I consider very important when you are considering researching blogs. Customization, interface, and what is the pricing. And if you have any questions, you can always go on our website, www.pagesculptorstudios.com. You can shoot me an email. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can also find Page Sculptor Studios on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also shoot us a message there. Oh, and LinkedIn too. Have a good day, and we would love to hear from you. But start that blog now.